Oh, this cushion's really bad. No, no. Oh, I thought about sitting in a chair. Oh, come on. Ganga Mantri Prabhu's here. This is ridiculous. Can't speak in front of Ganga Mantri. Yeah.
At one point, in front of him, my Guru Maharaj was in the area and I gave Bhagavad. It was under his instruction, but still.
Yeah. He comes and chastises you.
They're wondering if you have the keys.
Oh, to the what?
Very good.
Oh.
No?
They couldn't get in.
Well, they got in there.
Oh, I think I'll plug my head back there. Sometimes I put it back. I put it in weird places sometimes.
Oh, you can probably start. You can probably start. The solo person in the audience. Okay, I'm not gonna clap. You're recording it. Hottie. Oh, that's loud. That's loud. A long time ago at a Krishna lounge. Yeah, probably at least. What you want? Should we start? Should we start? Okay, let's do it. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachare Jamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai. Do we say Jai Vishnu Pad? Do we usually say that?
You can say an abbreviated version. Especially with Bhagavad class, we've just said that, again at the kirtan, sometimes we say really abbreviated version,
Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Stotara Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Stotara Sata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So today I chose verse 14th of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is a famous verse. And so yeah, we're going to start there. And the theme of the talk is going to be that only by surrender to Krishna can we cross over the material world, which is exactly pretty much what the verse says. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Tarutyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayame Tang Tarantite. Do you say it just once? Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Tarutyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayame Tang Tarantite. Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Darutyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayame Tang Tarantite. Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Darutyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayame Tang Tarantite. Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Darutyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayame Tang Tarantite. Daivi, transcendental. He, certainly. Esha, this. Gunamayi, consisting of the three modes of material nature. Mama, my. Maya, energy. Drutyaya, very difficult to overcome. Mam, unto me. Eva, certainly. Yea, those who prapadyante, surrender. Mayam etam, this illusory energy. Taranti, overcome. Te, they. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the Supreme Will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature, due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya illusion is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the Supreme Magician, the Personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the Supreme Controller. Svetashvatara Upanishad 4.10. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. Therefore, only Lord Krishna, or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity, who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The words Mam Eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu, only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajaguna, passion, and Tamaguna, ignorance, to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas, Svetashvatara Upanishad 3.8, confirm this in the phrase Tam Eva Viditva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti Pradata Sarvesam Vishnur Eva Na Samshayahat. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kartivachalam Pangam Langayate Grim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatadanam Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Now with your permission I'll try and say something. So, when I read this verse, oh yeah, can I? I do not give you permission. Thank you. So when I read this verse, first things I thought were that it's quite interesting, the differences between bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness and other processes of yoga like jnana or karma or basically other processes of yoga, which the essence of them is, it's not so much a process of grace, but how much you can pull yourself up, how much you can, become a big pundit or become a big, big yogi, a big renunciate, and live in the Himalayas and always fix your mind on, Krishna. But it's not so much a process of like, completely surrendering everything to Krishna, just depending on Krishna, working under his protection. It's more about, I'm gonna, by strength of will, I'm just gonna, rough it out. I'm just gonna control my senses and really fix my mind on Brahman or on Paramatma or Vishnu, which is quite an interesting concept because it's completely different to everything that we're taught growing up in a materialistic culture. Materialistic culture, that's basically the essence of it, is rugged individualism and make your own way and earn as much as you can and backstab as many people as you can and just do whatever you can to make as much money and get as much fame as you can, as many followers and all these things. But the process of Krishna consciousness is completely the opposite. It's about receiving Krishna's mercy, but not independently trying to rough it out or trying to independently overcome the material nature. So, yeah, there's this saying, to storm the kingdom of God by force. So Prabhupada would say that you can't do that. You can't take Krishna's mercy by force. You have to gain his favor, which is not always easy, because we, or at least speaking for myself, usually think we know what's right and think we know what's intelligent and what's this and that. But Krishna, he says exactly what. If we're basing that on what Krishna says, then that's obviously correct. But we usually, or at least I usually, have a tendency to just try and do it my own way. So I was thinking when reading this verse also that Krishna says the divine energy of his is very difficult to overcome, but those who surrender unto him can easily cross beyond it. And I was thinking that every day is like an opportunity to surrender more, because we can say, well, I'm surrendered to some extent, I've shaved my head and put on paint, and, we can say, yeah, I've surrendered to some extent, but and Krishna is asking us to surrender fully, not 90% or 20% or whatever. He's saying 100% surrendered, and only in that way can we cross over. And I was thinking that each day when we wake up, it's an opportunity for us to surrender more, to think, what can I do today that will help me to give up that last bit of independence, that last bit of desire to think I know what I'm doing, and I don't need to accept higher authority. I don't need to surrender to someone who is telling me what is right, what is wrong, which is exactly what Krishna is doing. He's telling us this is right, this is wrong, do this, do that. And he's asking us to fight for Krishna and not be caught up in samsara, caught up in Maya, because he knows what's best for us. So then, on the idea of the spiritual and material different consciousnesses, one is always seeking shelter or trying to surrender, and one's always trying to be the shelter, trying to be the the top dog, the top of the pack, the one that's always enjoying and controlling over others, and got the most money and the most cars and the most this and that. But Krishna doesn't want to see that. He wants to see that we're trying to surrender to him. And my thought was that, well, my understanding was that the more insignificant we are, the more, the lower a servant, or the servant of as many other servants as you can be, that is actually what Krishna wants to see from us. He wants to see that we're serving his servants, and we're doing it with love and with devotion, and we're not, holding back. We're not thinking, well, I'll serve this person because he's a very advanced, he's been around a lot longer than me, or he's, very high level of spiritual advancement. But Krishna wants to see that we serve all of his servants, no matter how advanced or how junior, how senior. He wants to see that. And so that's the way that we can get Krishna's mercy more and more, is by surrendering unto him, and also surrendering unto his devotees and serving his devotees. And in that way we're qualified to serve Krishna. So yeah, it's interesting that the value systems are completely opposite. They're completely contradictory, which is why, at least for myself, it can be quite hard to surrender at times to certain circumstances, or things that are being asked of us, because the value systems are completely different to what we've been instilled our entire life, grown up. Our parents say, just make, we all know. Anyway, I don't have to go into it. But the value system's completely different and completely foreign to us, which is why we have to surrender every day more and more. Every opportunity we can, we have to try and correct this wrong mentality and adjust it to what Krishna wants to see, which is selfless surrender. We'll get to that later. So, also when I was reading this, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. And Prabhupada is saying that Krishna's energy, which he's speaking of, is divine. It's part of his energies, and are therefore divine due to contact with material energy. This original superior power of the jiva is covered. But being covered by this material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence, because it's divine. It's part of Krishna. And then I was thinking that what qualification, or what qualifies one to really, or what can we do that can qualify us to surrender? Or no, what can we do that can qualify us to cross over nations? And there's statements where not jnana, not dhyana, not karma, not no amount of personal endeavor can actually do that, but only by Krishna's causeless mercy, only by bhakti and being engaged in Krishna's service, which is what will please him. And it's said in a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 11, I believe it's 11th canto, that I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of nations by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. And by being firmly fixed in the service, it's approved by the previous acharyas, and that they've also crossed over by that method. So it's interesting that we're not being asked to make something up, to find our own way to surrender to Krishna, find our own way to achieve his grace, but we're just being asked to follow a process that's already, many acharyas have already experienced it. They've already stated that, this is what you need to do. You just follow these steps and you'll achieve Krishna's mercy. But the tendency is to, again, at least for myself, the tendency of materially conditioned mind is to, well, I know better, so I'll do it this way, I'll do it that way. But Krishna and the Acharyas are saying that the path is already there. We just need to try and surrender to it. We just need to try and follow it as best as we can, and Krishna will give us the results. So yeah. So on this term, in this context, or on the theme of surrender to Krishna, he wants to see our dependence on him. He wants us to be desperate to be in contact with him, to come back to him, and to achieve his mercy, because that's the only real panacea for all living entities suffering in the material world, is contact with God, contact with Krishna, which can relieve the essence of our suffering, why we're suffering, because we're trying to enjoy and be God. And there's a verse which I couldn't find, but I've heard it many times, which is saying that, maybe one of you know it, that Krishna doesn't reveal himself to make the worshipper, or the worshipper's devotion or worship more perfect, but yeah, I thought it was in a reference to a verse, but I tried searching for the verse.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. There's a reference actually where the pastime where Narada, he actually gets darshan of Krishna very young. He's like 5 or something, She's like, yeah, this is the last time you're going to see me in this life.
Yeah.
And this it says, I think, in that section, that this is actually to increase your desire, your devotional desire.
It's interesting. Yeah, because I was thinking of that. I was thinking that Krishna wants to see our dependence, and he wants us to be desperate, but sometimes he doesn't, even though it's quite interesting, it's kind of like a tease, he's putting the carrot in front of our nose on the string and slowly pulling us back to Godhead. But that he wants to see that dependence, and he wants us to be with him, but at the same time he's not going to reveal himself so easily. He's not going to just come to us in a flash one moment, and in most circumstances at least, and just reveal his mystic opulence, and oh yeah, I'm Krishna, hi, this is me, and you've been for so long trying to find me. But he hides himself, and he gives us little increments of understanding of who he is, so that we can make our worship more perfect and try harder and improve our services, improve our devotion to him more and more and more, so that we don't, because actually that's a danger, that we can get puffed up if we see how much advancement we're making, and we start realizing Krishna more and more, we start realizing his personality and our relationship with him. Then if he were just to reveal himself straight away, then oh yeah, I've done it, wow, it's just happened, and he's here, and but which is something quite interesting, because sometimes devotees say this, or I've also experienced it, that we don't feel like we're making much advancement, in the present moment. We feel like, I'm not making much advancement, or why is it going so slow, and I meditated on this a little bit, and I realized that that's why Krishna doesn't always let us feel advancement, because then we can either become complacent or we can become puffed up. Because if we see that, oh, all of a sudden, my heart's feeling a lot more purified, and my chanting's becoming more pure, and I feel like I'm just making leaps and bounds of advancement, then we can either think that, okay, well, Krishna's just taking care of me, I'll just kick back, and I don't have to do anything, I'm making advancement really, or we can become proud and think, oh, well, look, I'm I'm doing so many great things, and it's all, by my hard efforts and all these things. But that's one reason that Krishna doesn't let us feel advanced or let us feel the advancement. But then we see over longer periods of time, we notice, oh wow, Krishna can reveal that if he sees we're ready, that, oh, I used to be here and now I'm not dealing with that problem so much, or I feel, that's gone away, and then we start feeling small increments. But if it was just, then problems could arise. And that's, Prabhupada has said before, I remember reading in the purport that that's a great danger, is to feel safe in the material world, to feel that, I'm here and I'm making advancement really quickly and Krishna's taking care of it, and I don't really need to, apply myself or be desperate or, hankering for advancement, but I just, need to keep doing what I'm doing. But that's very dangerous, because actually we need to change, I need to change my heart and the desires that are there, and the values that we hold. The essence of it comes down to, whether we want to serve or be served. But it's very, very important not to feel safe in the material world. But of course we need to balance it, that we're not just always in anxiety, that, I'm in the material world. We feel sheltered at Krishna's lotus feet, but we feel safe when we're in contact with Krishna, but we don't feel that I'm just safe here even without him. That's a big danger. And so then I thought we would go into the next verse, which is another very famous verse. Namam duskritano mudha prapadyante naradhama maya purita jnana asuram bhavamashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Purport. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, a question arises. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, and all the leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead? Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways, and with great plans and perseverance, for a great many years and births. But if that liberation is possible by simply surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent and hard-working leaders adopt this simple method? The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society, like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, the Kumaras, Manu, Vyas, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and later on Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya, and many others, who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all-powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, etc., but who pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy, nature, is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheists and baffle the knowledge of planning commissions. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word duskritana, or miscreants. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. The atheistic plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheist's brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called Duskriti, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. In the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It has no independent authority. It works as the shadow moves, in accordance with the movements of the object. But still, material energy is very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. These Duskritinas, or miscreants, are of 4 different patterns, as outlined below. The Mudhas are those who are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves, and so do not want to part with them for the Supreme. The typical example of the beast of burden is the ass. This humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while, under fear of being beaten by his master, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this braying sound only disturbs others. This is the position of the foolish fruitive worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma, action, is meant for yajna, sacrifice. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created duties say that they have no time to hear of the immortality of the living being. To such mudhas, material gains, which are destructible, are life's all in all, despite the fact that the mudhas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruit of labor. Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain, and although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they are satisfied with practically no food. They are simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters. Ignorant of their real master, the foolish workers waste their valuable time serving mammon. Unfortunately, they never surrender to the Supreme Master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. The swine who eat the night soil, the swine who eat the night soil do not care to accept sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear of the sense-enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living forces that moves the material world. So I think we'll finish that purport there. But are there any comments or questions? Oh. No, I was thinking that that it's quite yeah. So Prabhupada is saying the difference that atheistic plan makers they may appear to be very intelligent or hardworking leaders, and they have, they may have many good material qualifications. They may be rich and learned and handsome, all these good things. But Prabhupada is saying here that the atheistic plan maker is called Duskriti, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. So we can have all these amazing qualifications, but if we utilize them in the improper way, then it's a total waste. Like someone has so much intelligence, and then they create the atom bomb, which just kills millions of people. And Prabhupada would say, "What's the use of that? Everyone's going to die anyway. You don't need. What's the point in speeding it up?" So Prabhupada is making a good point here that you can have, his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. So that's a waste of Krishna's blessing on that person. And Prabhupada gives the examples of Hiranyakashipu and Ravan, whose plans were smashed to dust, because even though they were learned as scientists, philosophers, and ministers and educators. So I was thinking also that we may materially have everything very well. You know, we may have good health and a lot of wealth and good family and surrounded by aristocratic, relatives, all sorts of these things that are materially very attractive and very sought after by material culture, but it can all be taken away at a moment just by Krishna. He can just, like they have that, I don't know whether it was real, I just saw like Mythbusters thing at Balboa Park about whipping the tablecloth from underneath a set table, and I didn't see whether it actually is possible or not, but I'm pretty sure you probably could do it if you were. But so Prabhupada's saying that, or Prabhupada's not saying, but I was thinking that Krishna can do that with all of our material assets. He can just at one moment take them away, and that's actually one way for the devotees that devotees and non-devotees, that he utilizes that to help us surrender more to him, or give up material attachments. Like the Avanti Brahman, he had a lot, and then just all taken away and degraded to what materially is like the worst possible position. He was a beggar, and he would have people passing urine in his pod, and spitting on him, and also so materially that's like the worst it gets. Wasn't that it? Was it urine or stool? I think it was urine. Yeah, they're passing urine in his begging bowl, and he would get food, and they would steal it from him, and they would steal his clothes. Yeah, they would pass air in front of him. They would insult him to his face. Little kids would do this. So materially, that's the worst it gets. But spiritually, the Avanti Brahman was feeling such great detachment that he says that verse, Etam sashtaya paratmanishtam adhyasitam paratamar maharshabhi aham tarishami duranta pram tamo mukundangri sevya, that I shall cross over this insurmountable ocean of nations by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. And that's approved by the previous acharyas who were firmly fixed in firm devotion to the Lord. So even though he's in such a degraded material position, spiritually he's making such advancement, and his Krishna consciousness is becoming so much more fixed, so much more determined, that he can say something like that, Whereas if I was in that position, I think I'd just be kind of depressed and, like, well, this kind of sucks, why is God doing this to me? But that's something that Krishna utilizes. He can pull the table out from under us to make us realize that because sometimes if we're surrounded by these things, we take it for granted, and then we forget what the goal of human life is. We think that it's just, it's meant for this material gain and material advancement, but then Krishna whips it out from under us, and we have to think more clearly on what life is meant for, what the purpose of all these things are. So, if there's no comments or questions, we'll move on to Krishna book. Mm-hmm. So constantly saying that you have problems with the mind, and then constantly correcting it. So you're saying, how do we not get negative or get agitated by that? Well, one thing is that it's actually for our benefit to correct the mind from all of its nonsense things. If we have that higher understanding that I'm doing this so I can become Krishna conscious, and that's the only way I'll become happy, and that's the only way that Krishna will be pleased with me, is if I'm Krishna conscious, then it actually becomes like quite a desirable thing. Like, you know, if you have, you know, I was thinking Badrinarayan Swami, like, you know, if he chastises me about something, and the first thought sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, why is he doing this? You know, it's japa time, I'm trying to chant, and my mind's all like agitated. But then actually, you know, then when I think about it a little more, that he's doing it because I need to be corrected, I need to change, you know, and so he's trying to help me. Because if we're stuck in the same pattern, and it's wrong, it's, you know, it's not a correct pattern, then it's like we're driving, you know, and the map's telling us to go, you know, 100 degrees that way, and we're supposed to be going straight on, you know. So the more that we keep going with these wrong conceptions or incorrect anarthas, or whatever you want to say, things in the mind that are deviating us from Krishna consciousness, the longer we don't correct it, then that's just the longer that we're going off the path. And the sooner we do correct it, the more we can stick to Krishna's system, get back on Krishna's path. But how not to be negative? Yeah, I think have the higher understanding that it's a good thing, and that I'm doing this so I can become Krishna conscious, which will actually make me happy. Whereas if I keep following these things, they'll just make me more and more unhappy, and I won't become Krishna consciousness. I won't achieve the goal of life. I won't become happy. I'll lose out in every way. Whereas if I, even though it may be suffering, if I do this, then it'll actually make me happy. That's one thing I could think of. Yeah, yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting. That's what I was trying to bring up in the class, but it's quite an interesting point. Yeah, that spiritual life means following something that's already perfect. It's always been perfect, and it always will be perfect. It's already there. You just have to, like, literally follow it. Whereas material life means or material discovery, you know, material perfection, means that the ascending process, that, you know, we have to find out how it works, and, you know, how we're going to do it, and, you know, we have to find out all these different ways, and nothing's really known, but we're going to find it out, you know, eventually, sometime in the distant future. So it's quite interesting, yeah, that spiritual, it's so simple, the spiritual side, that the path's already there, you just have to follow it. But that's what makes it difficult, is that everyone's mind is so complicated. Everyone's false ego wants to think that I know what's best, I know how to do it. That actually makes the simple thing difficult. The simple thing of just following, you know, the set path becomes such a complicated thing that, you know, I need to find my own way, and I need to, you know, see what, with my intelligence, what's right and what's wrong, and, you know, whereas what Krishna is asking is just, you know, literally just follow what I'm, like there's that verse, Cetasa sarva karmani. What's the? I think I have it here. But Krishna's just asking us, just work under me, basically. Don't try to, rough it out. You could say, do it your own way. Just try and work under my direction. 1857. Oh, yeah. And all activities just depend on me, and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So, and all activities just depend on Krishna for the success or the failure, or the strength to do it, and the mercy. And to work always under his protection. But that's exactly the opposite of what the material false ego wants us to do. It wants to do all of it, all of our activities depending on ourselves, and work always under our own protection of our own strength, and our own intelligence and our own mind. And to not be conscious of a higher power. It actually requires a lot of humility to surrender to someone higher than yourself. It's not. It's completely juxtaposed to materialistic culture. It's, So. Yeah. I think I've heard it. I don't remember it very well. Mm. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. So simple. Interesting. Okay. So should we end here and pack up? Okay. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Is there something else we say? Is there something else you usually say? Okay. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
going to be gone more. So.
the microphone almost, you know.
Turn on some prasadam on the screen. Make a whole offering.
What?
Make a whole offering. I don't think anybody else is going to have it. I haven't eaten it. Oh, really?
Oh, it's disappeared.
You usually have dinner every day?
Yeah, I ate at 6:30.
Oh, really?
I didn't eat
Yes, you sometimes at 8:30. Quite a few times you've eaten this time.
it. Really? Well, I stopped doing that.
Okay, recently?
No, it's been like a month.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of easy, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of recently. Like 5 days ago.
Yeah, like 2 days ago, I stopped doing
At
that.
8:30 is why I say that, you know? Yeah.
Taking the bus home? What's your option?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You can take an Uber,
yeah, Uber is expensive, man.
take a Lyft, buy a car.
Is the Prashad filling back there yet?
Go on.
I'm just craving some rice.
Is it a shot for the way easy?
Yeah.
This is kind of rice.
It's not like rice. Kind of like rice, but it's not rice.
Go back to fucking.
I'm gonna get the rice.
I have to come in down and take
Can I
it.
save you this? Can I save you this much and then you can get it right away? So wait for you.
No, I'll just serve myself.
Is that okay?
Thanks, Grandma. See you later.
Yeah,
I was thinking I could pay you with this. Maybe you could help out, not like with the fund, but with the payment.
how come your card is still?
I think they wanted to pay PayPal or something.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
But the thing is also, I contacted the organizer today,
Yeah.
and I was just asking him if somehow or other, I'm pushing myself, because there's some generous ability, or if he has some other idea
Oh.
how our prasadam fees could be.
Oh, okay, I feel bad, because I told you I already talked to him. didn't I?
Yeah, but that's, you know, you talk and me talk, it's different.
Alright.
I think he'll accept it.
Alright.
Because it's like, and also there's a few organizers, you may have, I sent my email to a June 2nd.
Okay, I'm glad you sent it to a different person.
You sent it to Praveen?
No, I sent it, yeah, I had to send it to whoever, yeah, I think the regular email, yeah.
Yeah, I sent it to a June 2nd. So, it's a different
Tiny
person.
little bit.
Okay.
But even if it wasn't a different person, it's kind of like, did you mention my name?
No, I said 2 brahmacharis from SanDiego.
Yeah, but even if then, it's like, you know how